Hey, it's Warren Sprouse. This is the Bible Forum. I'm here this week to tell you how to destroy America. I received an email this week referencing an online post that's kind of making the rounds. It references former Colorado Governor Dick Lamb and a speech that he made on how to destroy America a few years ago. It was at an overpopulation conference, but it doesn't tell the whole story. First, before I get into that, I want to share something that someone sent me this week that illustrates another area of cultural destruction that this article really doesn't deal with, but it weds together, no pun intended. At a wedding ceremony, the pastor asked if anyone had anything to say concerning the union of the bride and the groom. It was their time to stand up and talk or forever hold their peace. The moment of utter silence was broken by a young, beautiful woman carrying a child. She started walking toward the pastor slowly. Everything quickly turned to chaos. The bride slapped the groom. The groom's mother fainted. The groomsmen started giving each other looks and wondering how best to help save the situation. The pastor asked the woman, "Can you tell us why you came forward? What do you have to say?" The woman replied, "We can't hear in the back." This is how people jump to occlusions. This is not an occlusion, but some people are jumping to conclusions that aren't real. Here, Governor Lamb is quoting from a book that we've heard about before. I've talked to you about it. It's been at least 10 years ago or more. But I remember it. It's called Mexifornia. Remember the book? Mexifornia, A State of Becoming. It was written by David Henson in 2003. I had been on the radio for 3 years by that time. What the governor said next, however, is the subject of the email. And it's clearly drawn from the thesis regarding California, but it extends to the philosophy of the entire U.S. of A. He says about 3 years ago, there was an immigration overpopulation conference in Washington, D.C., filled to capacity by many of America's finest minds and leaders. A brilliant college professor by the name of Victor Hanson Davis talked about his latest book, Mexifornia, explaining how immigration, both legal and illegal, was destroying the entire state of California. He said it would march across the country until it destroyed all vestiges of the American dream. Governor Lamb then said, here's how they will do it. First, to destroy America, turn America into a bilingual or multilingual or bicultural country. History shows that no nation can survive the tension, the conflict, the antagonism of two or more competing languages and cultures. It's a blessing for an individual to be bilingual. However, it's a curse for a society to be bilingual. The historical scholar Seymour Lipset put it this way, quote, "The histories of bilingual and bicultural societies that do not assimilate are histories of turmoil, tension, and tragedy." End of quote. Second, to destroy America, invent multiculturalism and encourage immigrants to maintain their culture. Make it an article of belief that all cultures are equal, that there are no cultural differences. Make it an article of faith that the black and Hispanic dropout rates are due solely to prejudice and discrimination by the majority. Every other explanation is out of bounds and taboo. Third, make the United States an Hispanic Quebec. The key is to celebrate diversity rather than unity. Outlaw the rich heritage of ethnic groups who came to America in order to be free, and to integrate. Abandon the melting pot idea. Instead, force every American to accept the differences of others as equal to theirs and to that of the United States. Redefine what it means to be an American. That holding us together is our tolerance and pluralism, not our shared culture. Fourth, I would make our fastest growing demographic group the least educated. Reach out for immigrants that have the cultural and religious principles of having as many children as possible during their fertile period. He says, I would add, break down the family unit. This would add a second underclass, unassimilated, undereducated, and antagonistic to our population. I would have this second underclass have a 50% dropout rate from high school. He says, my fifth point for destroying America would be to get big foundations and businesses to give these efforts lots of money. I would invest in ethnic identity, and I would establish the cult of victimology. I would get all minorities to think that their lack of success was the fault of the majority. Elect politicians that pass legislation to increase taxes, limit the investment of capital, and develop an underclass that depends solely on handouts. This will preserve power for the politicians and assure their power is permanent. I would start a grievance industry with this power by blaming all minority failure on the majority population. My sixth plan for America's downfall would include dual citizenship and promotion of divided loyalties. I would celebrate diversity over unity. I would stress differences rather than similarities. Diverse people worldwide are mostly engaged in hating one another. That is, when they're not killing each other. A diverse, peaceful, or stable society is against most historical precedent. People undervalue the unity it takes to keep a nation together. E pluribus unum. From many, one. In that historical reality, if we put the emphasis on the pluribus instead of the unum, we will balkanize America as surely as Kosovo. Next to last, I would place certain subjects off limit. Make it taboo to talk about anything against the cult of diversity. I would find a word similar to heretic in the 16th century that stopped discussion and paralyzed thinking. Words like racist, xenophobe. They halt all discussion, all debate. No place to go after that. Having made America a bilingual, bicultural country, having established multiculturalism, having large foundations fund the doctrine of victimology. I would next make it impossible to enforce our immigration laws. I would develop a mantra that because immigration has been good for America, it must always be good. I would make every individual immigrant symmetric and ignore the cumulative impact of millions of them. In the last minute of his speech, Governor Lamb wiped his brow. Profound silence followed, and finally he said, lastly, I would censor Victor Hanson Davis's book, Mexifornia. His book is dangerous. It exposes the plan to destroy America. If you feel America deserves to be destroyed, don't read that book. There was no applause. People were stunned. What is happening to our once prominent and revered nation is reminiscent of George Orwell's book, 1984. In that story, 3 slogans are engraved in the Ministry of Truth building. One is, war is peace. Freedom is slavery. And ignorance is strength. Question? What's really at the heart of our social programming? I'll give you an idea, or I'll give you a hint. What's at heart is a Bible idea. Think about it.